Golf Central on YouTube, brought to you by the Chrome Soft Golf Ball from Callaway.
Well, the aftermath of Hurricane Ian continues to devastate Southwest Florida, and Paul Azinger's Family Compassion Center in Bradenton has been busy helping the community. Compromised families have been picking up needed supplies free of charge. Today, the foundation is celebrating its one-year anniversary, and we are thrilled to welcome the man who set the project in motion and has shepherded it through every step of the way, of course, along with his wife, Tony. That's, of course, Paul Azinger. And Paul, how about we start off with an update on how things are going down there in your neck of the woods?
The hurricane really missed us by only a few exits here, so we got pretty lucky. We lost power locally and even north of us, all the way into St. Pete. A lot of people lost power down here, but down there south in Punta Gorda, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, of course, all the way down to Naples got really smoked, honestly. And, of course, everybody knows about Sanibel Island. But there's a huge region down there, pretty heavily populated, that got struck hard. And there was no way to really service those people. The people of Arcadia who are inland in our state were completely cut off from anybody west of them to get, or even to the north of them, to get to Arcadia. We had a guy, his name is Moses Van Ort, who after the storm took loads of water and meals into Arcadia the day after the storm. He took a couple of truckloads of stuff in there. He did it again the next day. And then the third day of the storm, the water came up so high that Arcadia was cut off. But when the roads dried out a little bit, State Road 62 and 17 dried out, we were ready to rock and pour it into Arcadia. We were already putting stuff in Port Charlotte and places like that. And I'm just real happy the Florida Department of Child Services was here just in case. You never know. Our Compassion Center is on a foster campus, and there's a bunch of homes here for foster children as well. But we were ready to go, and we were the closest place, really, as FEMA dropped off 25 semi-loads of goods, foods, meals, water, diapers, dog food, you name it, cat food. It was just incredible. It kind of blew my mind. And we only, had a staff of 3 or 4 people. You wonder, when you receive all that stuff, how can you get it out and, get it out to the general public? My first thought was, why aren't those trucks just going right down there and dropping it off? Well, there was no hub to do it. And we have a lot of partners that send us stuff, but we also have a lot of partners that can deliver. And boy, did we deliver. And I'm real proud of it. Over the last year, we have delivered 1.7 million meals, $3.7 million worth of, supplies like furniture. I mean, stuff, not just for the hurricane, but over the period of a year, we've delivered, all kinds of stuff for foster families and all that. So we're pretty excited. Had no idea that we would be in the right place at the right time for this hurricane. Bradenton, Florida, where I live, and Palmetto area, Sarasota, we could have looked like Fort Myers and Punta Gorda, and we know it. And a lot of people reached out to help those people down south.
All right, I would imagine this has had an enormous personal effect on you and Tony. Let's turn you loose on a couple of other things while we've got you. And let's start with the Ryder Cup. Sergio Garcia saying this week he will bow out of consideration for the European side if it hurts the team. Now, should he be eligible? He's still European, and the same with players from the United States like Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau. They are still Americans. What do you think?
I think they made a choice to leave the PGA Tour. I don't know if the PGA of America wants to accept those folks. The PGA Tour is pretty down on the LIV players, but we don't yet know about the major championships. We haven't really heard from them yet, and they're wisely, kind of kicking back and waiting to see how this all unfolds. LIV needs to get a TV deal for those guys to stay relevant. I'm not sure that they're going to get that. I noticed that, all the golf outlets are covering LIV, so they're getting a little bit of run in that pyramid that is the golf fan, the diehard fan. But are they irrelevant outside of those people that get emails, outside of us? We're at the top of the pyramid. We think and live, breathe golf all the time. And I'm not sure everybody does that, but a lot of people watch golf that don't get emails about golf. So But in the end, I think the bottom line is going to be whether or not the major championships are going to accept these guys in the world rankings. That's what we're all waiting on.
Paul, I wondered, what have you learned as a broadcaster about the game that you didn't know and wish you had perhaps as a player?
Well, I learned in pretty short order when I was in contention in 1988 for the PGA Championship that golf was made for TV event. I was in the last group on Saturday, and I always talk about being nervous and all that, and got introduced, and then for some reason they said, "Whoa, wait, stop!" I don't know. The producer must have been freaking out in the back there, but they gave somebody to cue the guy on the first tee, and then they pulled it back. While I was being introduced, they stopped, and I just looked around, and I really saw the cameras for the first time and recognized that this was a made-for-TV event, and this was a TV show I was a part of, not just golf. It was kind of cool, really. It was a real revelation.
Paul, go back to your prime, 1993. You just won the PGA. You're a star in the Ryder Cup. And theoretically, hypothetically, a rival tour comes along, offers you a lot of money to leave the PGA Tour. What would your thinking have been, do you think? How would you have dealt with that situation?
Well, I'd like to think I would have said no. I mean, I've had my issues with the PGA Tour, a lot of issues. I served on the Player Advisory Council for 13 years, and I was very candid with Fincham, and I have been with Jay Monahan about likes and dislikes. And but I love the tour. It's just not the easy road, It's just not. It's the hard road where you have to earn your spot. You have to qualify. It's where you build your name. It's not a handout. I always said it was the greatest form of capitalism, because if you missed the cut, you didn't make money. You had to perform or you didn't make money. And but life has changed. The game has changed now. These guys are superstars in social media and TV and all that. And I feel like now, maybe their brand, their name and likeness has great value, and maybe they should, I guess I could justify getting some guarantee money. It was explained to me by a guy that, let's say McIlroy commits to a tournament really early. Well, that town gets to use his name and likeness. That corporate sponsor gets to use Roy's name and likeness for a long time, several months. So there must be some value there. There must be some value there for Tiger. Maybe that's the value that Phil sought, that what he was missing out on. But I don't know how well Phil was able to communicate with Monahan, but there was a big miss there, big gap in belief. And I think that's the money Phil was chasing, really, in the end, some of that money.
Paul, let me get you out of here on this one. Fred Couples won this weekend. He's 63 years old. He has had all sorts of back problems his entire professional life, and he goes out and he shoots 60 at age 63. How impressed are you?
I'm blown away by it, especially with the lead. Nobody's done that, I don't know, ever. I've never heard of it. And I texted him pretty close to immediately, and he fired back. Hicks was in the little three-way chain there, because Freddie texts Hicks and I on the air all the time. And so we texted him. I texted him right away. Just amazing. But his response was, I just went blank for 14 holes. It was classic Freddie. It was just brilliant. It's part of his legacy as a great player, and the most beloved by all of us. Everybody loves Freddie, and for good reason. He's a lovable guy. Yeah,
he is a special talent and a terrific player. Paul, thanks for joining us, and congratulations to you and Tony for the great work that you are doing down there in Florida.
Thanks, guys.